Let's take a trip back in time. The year is 1999. People are quitting stable, well-paying jobs to become day traders. Companies with no revenue, no profits, and sometimes no actual product are going public and seeing their stock prices multiply by 10 in a single day. The story is simple and intoxicating. The internet is changing everything, and if you get in now, you will be a millionaire. Now let's jump forward. The year is 2021. Digital images of cartoon apes and pixelated characters are selling for hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. The story is simple and intoxicating. NFTs and the blockchain are changing everything, and if you get in now, you will be a millionaire. Looking back, both of these periods seem like a kind of collective madness. But here is the scariest and most important part. The people inside those bubbles were not stupid. They were doctors, lawyers, engineers, and executives. They were smart, rational people just like you and me. So why did they believe it? And more importantly, how can we avoid falling for the next inevitable bubble? The answer lies in one of the most fundamental truths about human nature, a key theme in Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. We are not driven by data. We are driven by stories. A good story will always be more persuasive than a spreadsheet. And the better the story, the more dangerous it can be to your wealth. Today we are going to dissect the anatomy of a financial bubble and explore why we are all living inside personal bubbles of our own making. First, we need to accept a humbling truth. Our view of the world is incredibly incomplete. We have each experienced only a tiny microscopic fraction of what has happened on this planet. To make sense of it all, to navigate the world without being paralyzed by its complexity, our brains do something remarkable. They fill in the gaps with stories. We create narratives to explain how things work. These stories are not based on broad statistics. They are based on our own limited experiences, our emotions, and the experiences of the people around us. If you grew up in a family where real estate was a fantastic investment, your personal story is that real estate always goes up. If you got your first job during a roaring bull market, your personal story is that the stock market is an easy way to make money. These stories are not facts. They are just our brain's attempt to make sense of a complex world with incomplete information. And this is where the danger begins. A financial bubble is simply what happens when a compelling story becomes attached to a financial asset, especially when that story includes the promise of quick, easy wealth. Let's look at the life cycle. It always starts with a powerful and appealing narrative. It's usually rooted in a real technological or social shift which gives it a veneer of credibility. The internet, the blockchain, artificial intelligence. The story always has a simple, seductive hook. This is a new paradigm. The old rules don't apply. And if you get in on the ground floor, your life will change forever. The second ingredient is financial incentive. This is the rocket fuel. When a story is just a story, we can debate it. But when that story is tied to an asset whose price is going up, we are no longer neutral observers. We are financially incentivized to believe it. Our potential profit depends on the story being true and more people believing it. This powerful incentive causes us to suspend our disbelief and ignore any evidence that contradicts the narrative. The final ingredient is social proof. As more people buy into the story, the price of the asset goes up. This rising price becomes the proof that the story is correct. It creates an irresistible feedback loop. Newcomers see the rising prices and think, "It must be true. Look how much money everyone is making." The fear of missing out becomes overwhelming. The bubble inflates not on fundamentals or data, but on the pure, raw power of a contagious story. At the peak of a bubble, no one is asking critical questions. They are all caught up in the magic of the narrative. To doubt the story is to doubt the intelligence of everyone around you, and to risk being left behind. It's easy to look back at the dot-com bubble or the NFT craze and feel smug. But the truth is, we are all living inside smaller personal bubbles all the time. Do you believe that gold is the only real money? Or that your specific industry is recession-proof? Or that you are particularly good at picking stocks? These are all personal narratives. They might be based on some experience, but they are not universal truths. The danger is when we become so attached to our story that we build a bubble around it. ignoring all disconfirming evidence. We become a financial fanatic, and fanaticism, of any kind, is the enemy of sound judgment. So how do you protect yourself? How do you appreciate a good story without letting it lead you off a financial cliff? First, learn to recognize the appeal of the narrative itself. When you feel a strong, emotional pull towards an investment, stop and consciously identify the story being told. Is it a story of revolution, of secret knowledge, of getting rich without effort? The better and more emotionally satisfying the story, the more skeptical and analytical you should be. Second, respect the power of incentives, especially your own. Ask yourself, do I want this to be true because my analysis is sound, or because I stand to make a lot of money if it is? Being honest about your own incentives is a crucial check on your critical thinking. Always ask, who benefits from me believing this story? Third, actively seek out disconfirming evidence. This is difficult because our natural tendency is to look for information that confirms our existing beliefs. This is called confirmation bias. You must fight it. If you are excited about a new investment, make it your mission to find the most intelligent, well-reasoned arguments against it. If you can't find any, you aren't looking hard enough. Acknowledging the other side of the story is the best way to pop your own personal bubble. And finally, maintain intellectual humility. Acknowledge that your personal experience has given you a unique but ultimately incomplete view of the world. Understand that other smart, reasonable people can look at the same set of facts and come to a completely different conclusion, because their life experiences have taught them a different story. We are all susceptible to the seduction of a good story. It's part of what makes us human. The most important financial skill isn't being able to find the next great narrative before anyone else. It's developing the wisdom to identify when a story is simply too good to be true, and the humility to recognize that the most dangerous stories are often the ones we tell ourselves.